Mr. Ben and Little Miss Treasury. I've got tons of stories to tell you. Come and see. There you are. And tonight's bedtime story is Mr. Small, A Big Day Out. Mr. Small was out for a walk. He was feeling more than a little sorry for himself. It wasn't much fun being as small as he was. He sat down under a tree and closed his eyes.
I do so wish I was bigger.
He sighed.
Much, much bigger,
he added. Now Mr. Small did not know that there was a wizard lying down on the other side of the tree. He had stopped for a snooze, and, just as he had been dozing off, the wizard had overheard Mr. Small's wish. The wizard smiled to himself. Without even opening his eyes, he muttered some magic words under his breath and then went back to sleep. As Mr. Small lay there, something really quite remarkable happened. Something really quite remarkably magic. Mr. Small began to grow and grow until he bumped his head on a branch. When he crawled out from underneath the tree and stood up, he was taller than a tree. Much taller. Gosh, said Mr. Small. He could not believe his eyes. He could not believe his size. He went for a walk to try out his new size. It was wonderful. He could see over the top of everything. He leapfrogged over trees and jumped over rivers. He gave the Mr. Uppity the shock of his life. He was stronger than Mr. Strong. Much noisier than Mr. Noisy. And taller than Mr. Tall. He could even make his fingers beat when he puts his arms around Mr. Greedy's tummy. Mr. Small had a marvellous day, and as the sun set, he lay down in the field and went to sleep. As Mr. Small slept, he shrank back to his normal size. For you see, the wizard had only cast a spell that would last one day. When Mr. Small woke up, it was dark. What a wonderful dream, he said to himself, and got up to walk home. But he found he couldn't. He was surrounded by a wall. However, when he felt along the bottom, he discovered that he could lift up the wall. It was light outside, and when he crawled out, Mr. Small could not believe his eyes. He had been trapped underneath a hat that looked like just his own, but it was much, much bigger.
Well, I never,
said Mr. Small.
Maybe it wasn't a dream after all. That sleepy old wizard had forgotten to finish off his spell properly.
He had forgotten to make sure Mr. Small had shrunk back to normal size. Mr. Small has now got a 10-gallon hat. A 10-gallon hat for a pint-sized person. And that's the end of our book. Thank you for watching. See you next week for another Mr. Men video. Goodbye.